Good evening and welcome to Just Roll Sixes. I had to get that right this time because it's been a while since I've done a Just Roll Sixes. Tonight I have a very special guest with me. I'm hoping you can hear me. We had some technical difficulties before the start of the show, and that was mainly down to the fact that I'd muted my mic. So tonight I have the pleasure of being joined by Team Northern Ireland captain, boy wonder extraordinaire, and all-round top AOS player, Solomon Morrow. So welcome to the show, Sol.
Thanks for having me, Pete. You can still hear me, yeah?
I can still hear you.
Okay, yeah, I accidentally turned my headset off as well while we're waiting, so all the mic issues. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be able to talk with you.
Excellent, yeah. So I always say to people, if you're in the chat, just let us know that you can hear us both because, I'm just technically incompetent, it seems. So yes, good evening to the Hogs of War. Also a very top player in the chat. I think ranked in the top 24 on the T Sports rankings there, if it's who I think it is, and a very good painter as well. But enough about him. We are here, yes, tonight to talk to Sol. So we are going to be talking, Sol, about a few things. So the Just Roll 6 series has come back as part of the stream streak I did 6-7 weeks ago or whatever. And I interviewed Freddie, and I thought, do you know what? It's really great getting the insight from like a top player. I know I certainly took away some tips from it, and I feel that other people would be able to benefit from understanding more from people who see the game maybe a bit differently or are top players. So I thought I've had Freddie. He's an ex Team NI player.
We started his international career, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so I thought, why not get on one of my fellow teammates as well, fellow teammates, and see how you play, because you are a very good player, I believe.
I like to think so sometimes, but dips into here and there.
No, I think you're being very modest there. Although, I think you did say to me before Worlds that you'd had like the worst 6 months of your AOS time.
Yeah, I probably lost more games in the last 6 months than I have in the last 4 years. That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, and for you, that's probably what, like 5 games though, or something.
Yeah, so thereabouts.
Yeah, there's
a bit more than that.
Plenty of us have lost way more than that in like one tournament, so I think you're still pretty good, So. Yeah. So we're going to talk tonight about how you got into the game, how you see the game. We'll have a quick recap of how Team NI did at Worlds. It would be remiss of us not to, as we're both here. And then also it would be really good to get your views on the new GHB, which, for those that don't know, you must have been living under a rock, but it pretty much got leaked. I think Thursday evening was when it all started dropping.
Yeah,
and then obviously people like AOS Coach have done some fantastic videos on it. So it'd be interesting to get your take on the new GHB, your hot takes, your spicy takes. So so
it's all bad. They should have stayed how it was. Go back to 3rd edition. That's my motto.
Go back to 3rd edition. Oh wow. Okay, that is a hot take. We've got in hot. We're not even 4 minutes in, and you've gone in with a hot take.
I think the game was better in 3rd edition. That's my opinion.
Okay, before we get into everything, then let's expand on that. Then, so why do you think the game was better in 3rd edition?
In a sense, it was more complex. So a big thing with 4th edition was I think they've balanced it way better, but it's just way more boring to write lists and I think play. Like they took a lot of the intricate, what you could call bullshit, out of the game, but that is at least for me, was what made it very fun. So I personally prefer 3rd because of that.
Okay, interesting. I mean, with that sort of, they took out some of the intricacies and stuff. Do you think that leveled the playing field, which is why you lost 5 games this year? Or do you think, what was it that, you... I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you think then by being No, we're going to pause it because we're jumping way ahead of ourselves.
You started this conversation.
I know, because you came in with a hot take, and I'm a sucker for a hot take. I will give a quick shout out to some of our listeners already. So good evening, Pete, the other Pete. I'm AOS Pete. He's Pete AOS. He's the original though. So good evening, Pete, and good evening, Ian as well, who had the pleasure of playing was it the 2-day actually? Yeah, recently. I'm pretty certain it was the 2-day. We had the pleasure of playing Ian. So, Sol, how old are you? You look baby faced.
Well, I first shaved just for this.
Okay,
Uh, 22 at the minute.
22. Okay, and how long have you been playing the game?
So I started when I was 16,
Right,
back in 2017. Yeah, at the end of 2017.
at the end of
Started playing. So it's
2017.
the second of Start Edition is when I started.
Start of second edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you get into playing the game then?
So my dad, he played it back when he was younger than me. So when it first came out, we
In the
started playing D&D.
1920s?
We bit further back. We bit further back.
Yeah.
You remember that time, surely?
No. I believe the expression is "fuck you." I'm not that old. I'm not as old as your dad. But yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go on. So you're playing D&D. Yeah.
So we started playing D&D again when I was in third year because we just wanted something to do. So I mean, we still play to this day, in fact, with family and stuff. And then I think he just walked into the Warhammer shop and he got pulled in by one of the sales guys, basically saying, it's not that much to get into it, and you can just use it for bits and bobs here. And then he just got completely sucked in. We got the starter set, Stormcast vs. Khorne, played that. Then for 6 months just played, me and him, where I lost like every game. Like I got completely smashed by him because I was young, and he ended up using. I don't know if you played like the start. So we started the very start of first edition, where it was like this really bullshit change host. Like you couldn't do anything. I don't know the intricacies, but I played that versus some Grand Alliance Death Army because Death didn't have battle tomes, and I just lost every game. And then we went into second edition, and that was where everything really exploded up and started to actually, getting really into it.
Cool.
Played someone else other than my dad as well, which is
cool. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think it'd be safe to say that the skill level of the two of you has just got a little bit separated.
Yeah. So we both came up together well, actually he started in the tournament scene a year before me because I was again young, don't want to go play with a bunch of older guys, and I was intimidated a lot by it, to be frank, because and I think that's a big thing with whole tournament people, the people that aren't into it, is like, it's a tournament, is that really what I want to do? And it's really not, I feel. But then yeah, we both came up, and then I was able to just spend a lot more time playing the game, to be frank. I didn't have real life to deal with at that point because I was just in school who could kind of have to do his work. And then also like I got to a point eventually where I would just sit down and read the battle tomes because I just love rules and I love numbers and memorization and all that, so it really came to me that way. So that made a bit of the gap in a sense.
Okay, so like you said that you sort of came into it when you were at school. Was there any areas, and you sort of touched on numbers there and stuff, but were you already excelling in so were you like a maths whiz? Were you like really good, that sort of
Maths
thing?
and computers, yeah, and sciences. Hated English.
Hated English.
Still do.
Sorry, just to clarify for the listeners, you hated English, the language, or you hate the English?
Is there a difference? No, just the subject.
Yeah,
I have a bunch of really good English friends.
Yeah, he's not
As good as
including
an English
me in
friend,
that.
as good as an English friend can be.
Do you know, I mean, you joke about that. I mean, so Fitzy at Worlds told me that he obviously hates all the Brits. He said, but I was in his top 5 Brits, and I was like, oh, okay, top 5. Who else is on the list? And he said, I think he said it was George Michael and David Craig. No, what's his name? The bloke who plays James Bond. Daniel Craig, not Craig David. Daniel Craig, and I was like, oh, I'm happy to be on that list. George Michael, Daniel Craig, So yeah, we've got to give a shout out to Dave McCarthy who's joined us. I won't read out his username on this in case he doesn't want to be
you never know
linked to that. And he says, "There's my brother." I don't know whether he's talking about me or you, to be honest.
No, me and him, good brothers at this point. Good
brothers, excellent.
Yeah, message a lot.
Good. Yeah, cool.
Get everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe we'll get Dave on as the gaming whiz for the Island team. Actually,
be my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, we might get cancelled after 5 minutes as a show, but
you just don't put a camera on for him.
Yeah, that's true.
The last incident.
Yeah. Okay, so you were already good at sort of like maths. So I know that when we speak, you'll often be able to work out like averages and stuff for like the game side of it quite quickly. So that obviously plays into your hands with the sort of math side. So that's interesting. So So you start playing the game. You start playing Grand Alliance Death, and I think you are. Is that the faction you're most into, associated with?
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. So for the first like 3 years, 4 years, I'd only play death factions, and basically the way me and my dad our collection works is whilst we do have every army, not all painted, as Team NA might point out.
None of us have
I
seen you with your own models.
my Nihon every time I played it, all my own models.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you have that
Building the
one.
next grief in the kitchen earlier before
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
But basically I own all the death armies, and then he has everything else.
Yeah.
So the death armies are like my armies in a sense.
And what was it that sort of like drew you to the Death Armies?
When we were driving home one day, he said we're going to get into Warhammer. He asked me, okay, here's the four Grand Alliances, which one do you want to play? I picked Death. He went, fuck you, that's the one I played when I was young. And I went, that's even better. Um, so it's just more interesting, I think. No one wants to be the goody two shoes. Destruction's a bit dumb for me.
Taking pot shots at me there, I see, yeah.
And Chaos, I didn't really know much about, to be frank. And Death just sounded cool to a 16-year-old. So.
Cool. So when you say like it sounded cool, are you talking about the sort of the lore there? Are you talking about the aesthetic
Oh
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
models, the lore?
Aesthetic lore, because I knew nothing about the rules or how the game played at that point. So it's purely just aesthetic lore, and I do really still like the lore for Sigmar. I still really love. Models, I like models. Painting, I don't like painting, but but the lore, yeah, no, I'm a really big fan of the lore from what I do know of it.
Tell me 4 bits of lore. No.
4 bits of lore. There's Nagash, there's Sigmar. I think there's an Archeon guy, and Be'lakor, your favorite.
Oh, Belendicor, yeah. His name was banned on the show. I think actually, like I might block it on the chat so that if anyone types it in, it just comes up as like banned. But okay, so you sort of you were drawn to the Nighthaunt and stuff. And what was the first tournament you went to then?
First tournament I went to was launch of second edition. I played Nagash with Vampire and Zombie Dragon with 40 skeletons. And this is when all the end spells came out before they gave them million nerfs because they were so busted at the start. So I bought like 5 end spells. My first tournament game I still remember because I lost was against Nurgle Skaven, like Plague Monk stuff.
Yeah.
And over the course of I think it was double turn, 40 Plague Monks went 14 inches, like move, then charged, lifted his Zombie Dragon, then double turn, 14 inches, move, charge, and killed Nagash. And I just went, huh? Because I had no idea how any of that worked. Didn't know how to screen either, of course. So that was very sad to lose all that. And then I didn't play him again until like 4 years later. And I made a point of winning the game.
What is it someone I know or is it?
No, he's not in the scene anymore. Really.
Oh,
He popped up for one tournament because he kind of went, oh, maybe I'll get my foot back in, and then I don't know, maybe shoved them back in.
you basically then just smashed him into oblivion and made him
yeah.
retire him. Okay, excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
So your first tournament you go to, what was it then that you enjoyed about the tournament scene that then hooked you in and kept you coming back?
Was not winning games because I lost most of my games. It was just I think like now it's hard to think back to a degree, but like a big part of it now is the social side of Warhammer. I think that's one of the biggest allures, even beyond playing and winning and all that sort of thing. And I think it's just I was really into the game as a hobby. I really liked, and getting to play new people consistently was a big part. Because over here, this was just before we started Exploding Dice, ran by Pete. So like getting games with people wasn't as easy. So that's just that sort of thing. I feel like, and my dad I think egged me on a wee bit.
So do you like consistently do you still play against your dad quite a lot to keep practicing or?
We don't play very often. So it's getting time in the house as well because both of us are so busy at the minute over the last while. Funny enough, he messaged me as soon as the GHB stuff came out of, "Oh, can we play any day this week?" I'm like, "I'm busy every other night that you are not." But we're going to try and get a game in soon.
Cool.
But yeah, unfortunately, we don't.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you are the current reigning All Island Masters, I believe.
From when we last ran it, yes, we didn't run it last year, but we ran it twice. And I won it both times. So at the minute, I believe that makes me the reigning champion. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I said current.
Yeah.
And if it never happens again, then you will keep the belt in
All time.
all time. Yeah. So you're current All Ireland Masters champion. What other big notable events have you won?
So outside of Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, I haven't won any events in England. I came second at Justice, beat by Steve Follows, a much better player than me. And then I've mostly had 4-1s, to be frank. It's always that one game that really stumbles. Even your event against
I was
Craig.
rooting for you. I was rooting for
Yeah.
you. So I'm just laughing at
Yeah,
Pete in
yeah,
the
yeah,
chat.
yeah.
Solomon can't play his dad anymore because of abuse against the elderly legislation. Fair enough.
There is some
Yeah,
legal implications, but we're working around it.
yeah. You took home NIGT. You won that.
Yes, I've won it the last 2 times. The year before I lost. Can't remember who won it at this point. But I lost to do you know Brendan from over here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his dad actually is the one who beat me.
Right. Okay.
And then yeah, I won it the next 2 years and going for the three-peat this year.
Going for the three. A
Oh yeah.
three-peat is big. Like you
Yeah,
don't see it a lot in
Archie
sport.
Archie does not want to give me that hammer again. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, the only reason I decided not to win it last year was because I just knew I wouldn't be able to take the hammer home in my luggage.
No, that's a good reason. That's a good
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. I went 4-1, and my only loss was a minor loss. I was close.
Oh, that's,
So
that's true.
but yeah. No, okay. Well, I mean, so you're clearly a very good player on the Northern Ireland scene. You're obviously a very good player on the national scene. So I think currently you're in the top 50 players, and you've only done 4 tournaments out of the 6 if you look at the T Sports rankings.
TSN rankings, yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't got to a lot of events over the last year or so I only got 4 in.
Is that because you've been focusing more on teams events this year, or you just haven't had the opportunity, or?
It's partially opportunity. I started like full-time work last September, so that's quite turns out quite busy.
Oh, so
Make,
there could be a correlation then here between
you could say it's crossed my mind. When you
the
have to suddenly for a tournament, you sound like I have to book a holiday for holiday days for this. Wait a minute, I can't just
yeah
get there willy-nilly. Um, but it's partially that, and then no teams events to a degree. Taking over captain
yeah
suddenly made me have to think about Warhammer management side, which was very
yeah
different because before Stephen did it before me, handled all of it very well. So
yeah. And you've done quite. I think you've done quite well in sort of delegating the tasks out to your minions. Tom on merch, me on social media, Shane on room bookings. You've done well.
yeah,
It's effective management. It's effective management.
it made it a lot easier for me. You guys have everything sorted, sweet. I can just focus on playing
Yeah.
and doing the stuff I do like.
Yeah, I think the point of being captain is sometimes you have to do the things you don't like.
No, I don't think so.
No,
Someone else
no,
can do it.
that's fine. That's fair enough. So, before we sort of do a recap on Worlds and sort of jump onto the other stuff we talked about. So, we sort of talked about how you go into the hobby and stuff. Tell me what the scene in Northern Ireland's like. So, obviously, I came over last year for the first time, and I really enjoy it. And I'd sort of talk to people quite a lot about it and sort of say they should come over. But in your opinion, what's the scene like in Northern Ireland?
So the first thing to preface it in comparison to like somewhere like England, it's smaller naturally, but I think it's quite tight knit. Like everyone gets along very well. It's a very everyone like the just joking that everyone does, and so everyone's just making fun of everyone to a degree, but in a fun way. No one takes it the wrong way, I think.
I don't know. Johnny wasn't very happy after playing your dad last time.
Well, that's he's done tough. That's different.
Yeah.
Um, but everyone gets like everyone just loves playing each other. I feel like, and whilst we don't have the most numbers, we kind of work with what we got. Peter Pratt, I think, can get the biggest shout out of anyone. Not only runs all of our tournaments, but also even for Team NI, he's like he was the first captain. He's the one who started all of that. So without him, there wouldn't be anything that we have at the moment. But whilst it's a small scene, in some ways you can look at it, you'd love to have maybe this. Like I don't know if you could say England has the same scene. England just has a country with so many different on its own
Yeah.
places, but we all just like love playing with each other. So I couldn't complain.
Yeah.
Great to have more
Uh,
faces though.
yeah. No. Of course. Yeah. I think. I'm very jealous of what you guys have got in terms of exploding dice. There's not many, and I call it a clubhouse really because that's what it sort of comes across as. Less of a gaming centre. It feels more like a clubhouse to me because you've got the extra bits that go in. And again, big shout out to Pete and the team that sort of run exploding dice and stuff. For the listeners who've not experienced exploding dice, if they were to come over for a 2-day event, what would they get?
They get tables that are probably the best tables in any venue. Not only are they tall enough so you're not breaking your back if you're tall. Like I know
Yeah.
I'm a bit tall, but you're a bit taller. And then it's having the whole gaming area, and then it's having the whole side room. Like there's a pool table, there's just sofas, everyone sits, and so everyone can just come in for when everyone comes in for lunch, everyone can just talk and talk shit, have fun. Then everyone goes in that room for the gaming, and it's the third venue they've had for Exploding Dice. Yeah, and it's by far the best.
Yeah.
And then Pete just does an amazing job at keeping everything running as smooth as it can.
Yeah, and the only devastating thing that occurred recently when I came to Exploding Dice was that KFC was being
KFC.
refurbed. It was closed, and I was
Yes.
devastated. um,
Damn, I'd eat Greg's. I hate Greg's.
yeah, I'm like, oof, I mean, oof, that's big chat. I don't know whether that's
I,
a spicy take.
I stand by my opinions.
Wow, okay. Dave McCarthy was like in love with Greg's when he went, but that's because they don't have it in the south.
Yeah, it's a
So,
different world. It's a different world.
so, in terms of like the relationship with the south, because again, I would say from from an initial outsider point of view, uh, the relationship that England has as a sort of tournament scene, where maybe we see a lot more of the Welsh players. So
Mm-hmm.
we get to know quite a few of those, and obviously a few of those are sort of reside in England anyway. So we know the Welsh side, we know some of the Scottish side, but there's because it's quite geographically way
Yeah,
up
yeah.
north. Um, I noticed that there's really quite a close knit scene between the south and the north in terms of players and supporting each other's events and stuff. Is that down to the fact that both scenes are quite small, or is it just a natural?
I think it's you can maybe put it down to being small. But the distance wise is I don't think much different than like you could get in other places. I think it's actually just everyone like both teams just get along very well. We fit very well together. There's a lot of natural fun you can have between the north and south and just how our interactions go. But down south team, it's been for like 3-4 years now. We go down to their tournaments. They come up to ours when they can, and it's just a great bunch of lads whenever they're about. So I
Yeah,
think we just can't complain about having them.
yeah,
Apart from McCarthy, he's a
yeah.
loose thread.
I'm going to be filming a quick video with Johnny and Dave later to promote the event they've got in Dublin later. But
Oh yeah, the one at Engine. I'm unfortunately not going to be there myself, but
so giving someone else a chance to win it.
yeah, you have to, you have to.
Yeah, well, it's very kind of you. It's very kind of you. So.
I'm going to be in England at Warhammer World myself instead, so
Oh.
better places.
And what I will say is the tables at Warhammer World are not tall and at the right height.
I've been there once before.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the walk around's great.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like the museum, everything. They've got air conditioning there now, which is fantastic. The lunch is amazing. So the staff canteen and stuff. So yeah, so there is a lot, but it's not the table size. No.
Yeah,
Table height even. So yeah. Okay, cool. So we sort of touched on how you've got into the hobby and stuff, and sort of some of your results and that. Let's recap Worlds then for those that may be interested in stuff. And I'm sure my co-host for Death and Destruction will be annoyed because I'm sure he wanted to discuss that next Monday on our show. But you're here, so let's talk about it. So
yeah.
you are the captain of the team. How did you end up as captain?
Well, it's really I got voted in by Stephen having to step out. Just he wasn't really, and then I put my name forward, and then I became captain because no one else was looking to at the time. We went through a period of struggling to get players way bit over the last year, and so over that I kind of ended up taking over. I was vice captain beforehand, to be fair, so it wasn't like out of nowhere sort of thing.
Yeah,
But that's kind of how I came into the captainship role for then Six Nations and then Worlds.
yeah,
And then I have been re-elected captain for this year, where we do have more players, which is
yeah.
good.
Do you think like being captain has affected your like your playing ability?
In some ways, it's made me have to look at things slightly differently from some armies because I had like I was already somewhat quite involved with like list writing and stuff. Like I know for Worlds, I feel like I helped with. Well, I was getting involved with quite a few people in the lists. Even I remember the small part with your list, like fell riders and stuff. Like
Yeah,
you just couldn't, you weren't too sure. And so I was having to really try and put myself in your head of like what kind of army you're playing. But
it's
it's
a
also
dangerous place to be in.
uh, it's also like as you know, different people play the game differently. It comes
Yeah,
down to, and so I do think I play the game somewhat differently from quite a lot of people. And so it's having to remember this is what I do. This is not what he would do. If I tell him to do what I do, that's going to go bad.
yeah, yeah.
so it's very much that sort of thing. To go, if you want to talk about Worlds for a second with myself, I know because I was doing timeouts whilst playing. That definitely probably had a wee bit of an impact on it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice to actually, because it gave me sometimes like a 2 minute break to go off and like clear, like if you ever know that you're doing something kind of intense, which Warhammer can be.
Yeah.
And then you can get your head completely switched to something else for 2 minutes. It can be a good mental break. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had the most intense game I've ever had in my life at Worlds with the playing against the Czech player, which we'll touch upon in a minute. But that was an unbelievably like the emotion I felt afterwards. I was just like I was in bits. I was like, oh my god. So we went to Worlds and we didn't have a coach, which, as you've touched upon, sort of fell to yourself then to sort of be the timeout person. Which, from my point of view, it was great having someone of your skill set and ability to be able to come over when I needed my timeout. But obviously, you had 7 people calling timeouts potentially during your games, which is quite a lot. So, well, fair play for not getting annoyed and coming over and sort of that. But yeah, so last year's Worlds. So I did a recap on Worlds last year. We didn't win a round, and we came second from bottom, which was not where we wanted to be.
Not ideal. No.
Far from ideal. So I think I might have touched on it, but just to remind people, what were the goals for Team NI going into this year's Worlds then?
Win a round, first of all. We didn't win the year before. And it was more just improvement on where we were before. So I know even Worlds last year, you stepped in actually quite last minute, when my dad dropped, in fact. And so it was a bit of a shuffle up there. And so we had a more compact team this time, like going to the Worlds. Like we had the R8, but it was mainly just looking at it from a point of view of win a round, nobody get 20-0'd, which nobody did. That was actually a big goal, and some big name players did, so it can still happen.
Freddie, sorry, Freddie.
You said it. Yeah. And those are the 2 main goals, just to make sure we won a round, and we did. We won a round, we drew a round, and then we had 2 very tight losses at the end.
Cool. So no suspense there. We're building it up and talking it through. No, but well done.
Well, yeah, that's the goal. I'm saying the goal. We won a round.
So you can tune out now, guys. You've learned not the endings. No.
Well, it's not like the results been up for a month.
No. Yeah, but some people can't access BCP because they don't have a subscription. So. Yeah, No, I jest. So yeah, the goal was going in was to not get 20-0'd, not statistically have the worst player at the event.
That too, I don't know. Yeah, but yes, there was last year. We did have the worst, like at the bottom, and we didn't have that again. So.
Yeah, and it's we sort of joke about it and stuff, but there's multiple reasons why these things can happen, matchups, so on and so forth. So and then the aim was win a round, and also I guess have the 8 people that we picked for the team actually all turn up.
It was an unspoken one because if I said it out loud, it may not happen.
Yeah,
winning spare player last minute.
Yeah, 6 Nations. Unfortunately, we had like 2 drops going into it, and I mean like, it was 3 because I forget that Tom stepped in as one of the first drops. So yeah,
we had a backup player.
He was the backup player. And in terms of like preparation and stress levels and stuff, like how stressful was that for you the day before the event, knowing that you'd had a drop?
Very. I feel like at the time, because I was just like I didn't even know who I was going to get. I sent messages in the Six Nation captain chat. I sent messages to like just everyone I could. I think I messaged you as well. You asked around. We were getting people coming back.
Yeah.
And then got I'm trying to remember the guy who ran it last year. I think it was Eric.
Yeah.
The Swedish guy who ran it, really good. No, Adam. Yeah. It was Adam.
Adam, that was it. Yeah, sorry, Adam.
Yeah. He just messaged me saying, "I've got someone for you." So who is it? And it was Christoph from Denmark, which just turns out to be.
He's not a bad player, is he?
No. Pretty good. Won a game here or there.
I mean, like with that final drop and Christoph coming in, actually, we didn't know about it until you'd actually got somebody like in, because you kept that one from us. Because
I wasn't going to say to you, by the way, guys, we had a drop. What are we doing? I was going to say, okay, I'm going to take a day, try and get someone, and then I'll tell everyone.
Yeah, which was fair enough, So we had our goals going into it. So we I think we all turned up at Vienna at various points. Actually, I think first person over there was Timmy. So little Timmy went over and did a tour of the city on his own. for one night, and then I turned up the next morning. So I was on a flight with three of Team England, which again their approach to the tournament was completely different. They had their big giant binders. And we had some napkins with the names of our armies and our army lists on. So I turned up. Then I think it was Tom turned up, Shane turned up, and then you and your dad turned up later that night. So we spent a day in Vienna. What did you think of Vienna?
Really, really, really nice. Much better than Northern Ireland. It's just great seeing other parts of the world, but I enjoyed it a bunch. Like, so.
Yeah.
The cake was too much for me.
Controversial. So Vienna is known for this famous cake, and we went to like the Sachsen cake, isn't it? Sachsen cake. Yeah, I don't know.
It means nothing.
Yeah, but basically we went to the hotel that it's famous for, and we went. It's quite a weird little thing, isn't it? You're a little team of guys, and Shane's just going like, "Hey guys, should we go for this chocolate cake?" And it's like, "Not see the sights. Let's go for some chocolate cake on a very hot day." But it was delicious. So
it was a nice cake. It's too rich chocolate. Yeah. My dad actually had the fudge cake thing. It was way better.
Oh my, controversial. Okay, so if we go back to Vienna,
I'm full of controversial takes.
Yeah, I know, all the hot takes. So, I mean, from my point of view, it was really nice, and it was quite nice for team bonding. Actually, like most of us going off and doing having this day in Vienna, and the other two, it was they had to fly out later. So like Martin had work and Colin had work. So it wasn't that we didn't want them to be there. It's just they had commitments. And then we headed off into Liban, which again, interesting one for those that don't know. In some parts of Europe, on May Day, they close everything. So like the city shuts down, and it's their version of a bank holiday, which we didn't know. So we were trying to get like breakfast juice and like some breakfast, and it was like, not so much. So we headed over to Laban, which again, what was your impressions of Laban?
Well, considering we went in, I keep trying to figure out how to describe. It was like a marketplace. I've never
Town
used that
Square.
word actually. Town Square, yeah. Just walked in, and it was just like there was the wee like music festival thing, and then it was just all the teams were there as well. It was just drink and food, and it was just really nice to walk into a town. It was like it felt alive.
Yeah.
So it was really good to walk in on that as like your introduction to it. So I loved the place, and then the food there was great.
Yeah.
Drink was cheap and good.
yeah. Again, which compared to sort of Amsterdam and certainly Sweden was a lot more expensive. But
ice cream in Sweden.
That's true, actually. Yeah, for a lactose intolerant person, though, that means little.
Okay, well, some of us are weaker.
Yeah, exactly. First world problems for Pete. It was amazing. Like, because I think me and Tom got there a bit sooner than you because we got the train. Yeah,
you took the train. We drove down.
Yeah, so when we turned up, like this town square, it's got this big May Day festival on, like this local town festival, and they've got a punk band on the stage which were doing covers of like pop songs and stuff, all in kilts, which was really bizarre.
No
No
correlation that we could find as well.
No, and then just like loads of beer sales. So it's like a mini Oktoberfest in some respects. That'd probably be the easiest way of describing it. Loads of people in Lederhausen and stuff, and it just it was like nice and vibrant and. Just like a really good vibe to it. So we turn up, we have our drinks, they shut the music festival down, and then off we go to the pizza restaurant.
Oh yes, for the draw as well. Yeah. We actually got really good seats.
Yeah, we did. Pizzas took about 4 hours to get to
the pizzas did take quite some time.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they had time to do the entire draw.
Yeah.
Even when we arrived an hour before the draw, before we got pizza.
Yeah. So what did you think of the draw system this year compared to obviously previously, as the Honest War Game has done his dice rolling and stuff and various bits? What did you think of the draw this year?
Well, doing the dice rolls of all the stuff with the flags is one thing.
We'll come to flags.
But the day before was so much better. I feel like because for teams like us, comparatively, like you mentioned before, Team England with the binders, some teams put a lot of prep into it, and so if you have all that time to prep your first round. It can give advantage to some teams more than others.
Yeah.
You could argue the other ways around because some teams may just prep against everybody. But it also gives like that camaraderie of where everyone was in, and then the teams looking at each other thinking who's playing who. The way they did it was a little bit confusing at first because I think people thought it was going to be the first two was like that's who played, but they were doing an actual pairings process. I think that was a little bit more played out than it needed to be. But
Yeah,
I guess they tried to play it up a wee bit.
yeah, because
But
we
yeah,
thought we had Austria, didn't we? We were like, yeah, let's go,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we didn't have Austria.
No, no. But much better to do it the day before than 3 weeks advance, I think.
Yeah,
And I think they're going to be doing that from going forward from the gist I've got.
yeah. They did like a feedback survey where those who could be bothered to fill in a bit. So hopefully they take that on board,
Yeah,
the survey and stuff. And at some point, hopefully they release the data so that people can see it and stuff. But yeah, so we end up with Finland,
yes. Yeah.
and we thought we had a chance, didn't we?
I think we still could have beat Finland. Like if we replayed it right now, sort of thing. I'm trying to think backwards now because, as you said earlier, it's been so long ago.
It's a month.
What was the score? Do you remember?
They beat. It was like 20, 30 points in it.
Yeah, it was a decent amount of win.
Yeah,
It was our first game. We had a few new folks as well. That was the first world, and so it's a bit more to take into it because like at a 2-day event, like you may only have a game as hard as worlds, only like your last two, but you're doing that every game, so walking in. But we walked out of it still like feeling pretty confident. I was like for myself because I remember my matchup against KO. I'm not too sure how this is going to go. And then Avalon stood in the forest for 3 turns and KO couldn't shoot him. So it was sweet.
which you won't be able to do anymore.
Won't be able to do anymore. And my Sentinels would lose half their range from sitting in the forest. So
yeah, exactly.
my entire strat. In fact, I think my entire list breaks in the new streak.
Yeah. No. So yes, we played Finland. It was it was a bit I think we were a bit disheartened, a little bit, not loads, but we were a little bit like, oh, we thought we could have won that one. My game, I wasn't happy with how I played. I went into Zinch. There was a little bit of. I had a lovely game against their player. There was an interaction that was not from the person I was playing, which annoyed me a little bit. And I know that, yeah, I'm not going into the I'm not going into the spicy take on that. I'll move on.
Is this a rules thing or? You don't have
so someone walked over and was like, "Can you get that model back in coherency, please?"
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And the reason it was out of coherency was because I'd literally just killed the spawn and it had been taken out, so it knocked my model out of coherency. And I moved it like a millimeter back in, and it was like, "Go away! Like it's not your game. Just go on." So I wasn't like anyway. So we played Finland. We got beat. We were a little bit disheartened, and then we went for lunch, which. We realised we chose poorly with our lunch choices.
Yeah, they were not as described, I would feel. Some of them sounded a lot better on paper.
Yeah.
And some of them sounded a lot worse on paper. And in fact, it may have inversed.
Yeah.
So my biggest feedback was I got cheated out of lunch, I feel like.
Yeah, no, fair. So for those that are wondering, so there was 3 choices for lunch. There was sandwiches, a buffet, or the grill. And I think most of us went grill. Well, all of us went grill or buffet. And you could pick something different each day. And then we sit down and they bring out these amazing schnitzel sandwiches. And you got 2 of them. It wasn't like it was even one. It was 2 of them. And a plate of chips. And it was like, oh my God. So, so I was like, food envy definitely with that. So, yeah. So they did the pairings for the next round. And who did we get for round 2?
Our most played team, Team Ireland. Favorite opponents?
2nd year in a row.
Last year we played them. No, we didn't play them the year before. We actually were doing quite well the year before.
Yeah.
We had Freddie with us, which might have felt a wee bit. But...
Yeah. So we got Ireland. So of course that was like straight into we have to beat these guys. Like there was no messing. It was like we beat them at 6 Nations. And player for player, and Dave, you can disagree, whatever, but player for player, we felt that if you took like tournament results and stuff, we felt we could match up, like our top players against their top players and our other players. That's the other way you describe it. So our top players again, you're the All Ireland Masters. It's not as if they've got that guy, we've got that guy,
Yeah, to a degree. Like the biggest thing when it comes to playing Team Ireland is we know each other so well. So we know their players, they know our players, and so playing around that. You could give Fitz the credit where he had the initial win on the psychological effect of the pairings by forcing us to pair outside.
Yes.
That guy just won't say no, and I'm not going to fight him.
No, I'm not going to fight Fitz either.
But like it ended in a draw, which we would have liked to have won it.
Yeah.
ultimately. But some slight pairings went slightly differently than we thought they would, which skewed it. But I think most people still had good games, which we
Well, we
always
won
do when we
five
play.
out of the 8 games, didn't we?
We won more, yeah. So I
Yeah.
won mine. I know like Colin completely caught McCarthy off guard by just rushing everything at him,
Yeah.
which is very funny.
And it's not
Uh,
it's not a very common thing to do either.
no, it's not so called like me. So like we did this most rounds before the games. I'd have a quick chat with everyone for 1 or 2 minutes against a rough game strategy, and because McCarthy's playing a list that I might have wrote for him, or what I found and gave to him. I didn't write it, to be fair. I was wrote months before. I said to Colin, just charge him all turn one. He won't be ready for it,
Yeah.
and then he wasn't. Some dice swing that list a lot as well, to be fair. And McCarthy been playing it very well. He beat me with it 2 months
Yeah.
before. But we won 5 games, but they had bigger wins. Was the big thing.
Yeah.
Like their win against Shane, the win against my dad were a lot bigger. Was you had a tight win.
Yeah.
My
It was a
game was a
1 point
tight win
win.
versus
Yeah.
Floody,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So
Mine came down to, so literally it was we had to call a judge over just to remind us of the scoring. So I could go for the battle tactic, which would have been like I think like a 7-inch charge with he could obviously then redeploy, or I could just literally move next to his Portaloo. And again, this is why the faction terrain is just bullshit. Move back. So if I needed the charge, it meant I got on the objective, which I think then meant I scored more. So I would
yeah,
have
yeah,
won by like 2, or I could go over to the faction terrain, do the do not waver into that, and then I basically it would be a draw on points, but I would have got 5 battle tactics. He'd have got 4, so it then became a minor win. So I won
yeah,
by a point. And you take the win, like you know. And at that point, I was trying to ask how many games were still going, and there was still 1 game going.
yeah,
And it was like, should I take the win? Should I? And I was like, take the win, just take the win. So yeah, and then literally it was like, okay, how's it gone? It was like, it's 80 points, 80, and it was like,
yeah.
what the?
Because mine was yours last game. Was mine last game?
Yours was the last game, yeah.
Last,
So
yeah.
yeah, yours was still going, yeah,
Because I played Vice versus Floody on his list, which actually was a lot better than I thought. I remember, I don't think I let Floody know at the time, but I just didn't notice he had Carlson Toll at the bottom of his list. So it's after we paired, and I was saying going through the list, and I kind of explained I had Carlson Toll, and he went, "And I have Carlson Toll too." And I'm like, "What?"
yeah,
In a very subdued tone, and then I found that out halfway through the game. Well, I found out at the start, but it came into play
he.
halfway through.
He played a blinder with misdirection with his list because he called it the Croak Bomb list, and I was
And
like,
then
oh,
no, yeah,
I was like, I'm not
yeah,
pairing into that. And then there was no
yeah,
Croak, and then he just hit Callison Toll at the bottom on the fold over bit of paper almost. So yeah, so we drew into that, but they did tell us at the time that it was classed as a win for us because we had more wins
so
at the
that's what
time.
Fitz said. I never
Yeah,
got any confirmation from the ref, so I just went on what other people said because
yeah,
I went,
yeah,
okay, I have too much other stuff to do. Just
yeah,
get running around scores and
yeah, which was fair.
tired.
So we sort of at that stage we were very much like, cool, we've objective achieved, we've won a round. It's a draw, but like it'd be great then to get an actual full win round afterwards. So yeah, so I think we spent the evening in did we go to Chinese takeaway that night? Yeah, we must have done because Chinese takeaway, Austrian Chinese
Yes,
takeaway.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Because
so
we've done
yeah.
twice.
So we went for a few beers, we went for some Chinese takeaway and stuff, and then we were paired into Germany. Is it Germany? No.
No, Germany is round 4. I pulled up my app to double check though.
Okay, Switzerland then.
Switzerland, yes.
Yes.
So this was our win. I'm
Yeah.
trying to. Yeah, yeah. So this one round we won, which we were quite happy with. I think going into it, because we were kind of in the mindset that we'd already won with Ireland.
Yeah.
So going that we were pretty happy. I feel like the pairings went pretty well for Switzerland. Everyone got like, who did you end up playing?
I fucked mine. Like
Okay.
so I was into Stormcast. So
I think I remember
it's
this
one
one.
of those where it's like either it should go one way or the other, but it'll be a close game, and I just rush of blood to the head, and I just overextended and then bounced like hard. So I
Yeah,
exchanged.
you killed like nothing.
Yeah, I killed a Palador in exchange for losing an entire unit of Chosen, which
Good trade,
was
good trade.
yeah, great trade. I was at that point. I called timeout and said, "Sol, I just need a minute.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
need to have a chat and stuff." But managed to sort of like pull some bits back and stuff. But to get a couple of points out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
But yes, so we played Switzerland. They were great guys as well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And they did. They didn't do badly as a tournament team. Actually, they got some wins and stuff. So it was good
yeah,
to
yeah.
get the win against them. So at that stage we were like super delighted. We're like, okay, we've got a round win. We're high-fiving. We were like, this is great. Who have we got next?
We deem Germany
Yeah, so we paired
on stream. On stream.
on stream. So we paired up massively up in that respect. I think of where we potentially should have been pairing. Who knows? There was some talk over BCP didn't quite lock in with where draws should sit. They class them as wins. So we were then playing as on BCP. We were playing as 2 wins, 1 loss, and Germany had 2 wins and a loss. So we paired that way. And as Dave's in the chat's pointing out, like Ireland just like got sucker punches and like rolled people over for the rest of the event.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but going into Team Germany, I was a bit. I thought we'd be in for like a quite. I don't. Tetchy might be the wrong word, but I thought it'd be quite like a. You hear tales of like some of the teams being like super finicky on rules and being a bit pedantic might be the right word. So like So I was a bit apprehensive going into it. I thought, okay, this is probably going to be one of those ones where we're not going to have a good round in terms of like we're going to get beat and it's on stream and it's maybe not quite as enjoyable as it could be, and it just shows how wrong you can be. I mean, we still got beat.
We got capped.
Yeah.
It's not be frank. But everyone still came out of the round really happy, well, not happy, but very like they enjoyed the games at the end of the day. They came down to I think they better list than us. They did better in the pairings than us, and they're just better players than us as well. It all confined together, and they deserve to win that round 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like their players like have been grinding their lists, and they're like locked in and stuff. And some of them have played like other gaming systems to a high level, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, we ended up giving them our favourite opponent, I think.
Yes, we did.
Which was a team vote, you know.
Yeah, we walked around and everyone said Germany.
Yeah. So like. We all wanted to do shirt swaps with them. I'd already swapped my shirt like at the start of the day because one of the Team Germany players came over and was like, "Oh, can I do a swap now?" And I was like, "Yep, cool." And then we ended up playing. They gave us regional beers, which was lovely. Like all the regional beers and stuff, which was great.
I actually missed out on mine. I was too busy running around doing other stuff.
I forgot.
I was the minute the pairings started, I'm like, I need to run to everybody and talk to them about the pairings. So I didn't get a chance. That was my favorite game I played though.
I played against an ogre player and like he just knew his list and it was on the Vice and I mean there was Tristan who was sort of who I sort of spoke to and did a little interview with him and stuff. He turned around and he was like, "Yeah, I was watching your game and like literally you didn't get the bridge off and at that point it all started to go wrong for you." And I was like, "Yep." And he could just play cagey and then come in and sort of like hug the terrain and like smash stuff and that. So it was but yeah, great game. And just lovely guys actually. So we got a photo with them. We did. I did an interview on their stream, which apparently was enjoyed by many. I think everyone else had been interviewed. They were like, "So, what was your tactics? How did your game go?" And I just went, "Yeah, just got smashed in the fucking face with a load of ogres." At which point they were like, "Oh, okay, this might be a different interview than the ones we've done previously." So yeah, that was good fun. So we didn't go away dejected from that because I think we knew that it was going to be a tough game, but we'd had a good set of games, like they were friendly and stuff. So just shows you can't always prejudge games, I think. So
yeah, no, the goal there would have been to not get capped. Ideally, no one got 20-0, which still fit with our goal. And then we had 7 losses and a draw. So not the best outcome, but
no.
Good
Tom's game was getting questioned on stream because he decided not to take a tactics start to go for underdog, and people apparently in the chat were like, "Has he forgotten how to play the game?" and stuff.
Well, that's kind of funny going about my game because my game was neither of us picked tactics for 2 turns.
Yeah.
Because there's Jaws Gala, and he ended up. I didn't pick my tactic, didn't move for a turn, so my thing was over real quick. We just got called boring for 2 hours basically every time someone walked past because we didn't move. And then he pulled up his paper for 5 minutes and worked out the math of if I take one now, that he still wins. Tom should. I don't know. Did he forget his tactic? Did he drop it?
Oh, spicy takes. Oh,
he didn't tell me.
Yeah. Okay. And then we went out we had some traditional Austrian fare, which was nice, some nice schnitzels and stuff. And then we got paired into Czech.
Czech Republic, yes,
which
yes.
is the third year of playing them, I believe.
Yes, we've played them 3 years in a row. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've played them. This was my second time playing them, and the guy that I played last year was their official photographer this year and their coach, so he
Yes,
wasn't playing.
yes.
And Czech, we thought the Czech was a winnable game as well, actually.
Yeah, we lost it quite narrowly in the end. I personally had a point of proof because the guy I played was the guy I lost to last year at Worlds. So last year at Worlds, I went
Ah,
4 wins, a draw and a loss, and I lost to this guy, and so I paired him again.
I
This
didn't
time,
know that. Did you force
yeah,
the pairings to so that you could play
I
them?
was first defender. They attacked
Right.
me with him. So
Okay.
they,
Okay. Oh, I didn't realise that. No. Okay. Interesting. I ended up playing against Jan, who last year was playing all Gore Grunters, I think, and has smashed. I think it was Neil he smashed, and it was Neil was just like he's such a good player and stuff. And I, on paper, I got what was probably the a super green matchup, as I'd have said the year before.
sorry.
Scorched
Oh yeah,
Earth.
I just remembered which matchup this was. This. So to talk about the pairings for a second, we came out of the pairings. Your game was put down as like, okay, that's gonna be a loss, but we got Martin, what we thought was gonna be a very good win,
Yeah.
and then the end, you yeah, let's talk about the game.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting one. So like you came over and it was like, look, we're really sorry, the pairing's not great for you. You're on Scorched Earth against Feck, and I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, that's on paper. That's not a good one for me. But Martin's got a good matchup on his. It was like, okay. And ultimately, it's teams. So we all say we'll take the matchups in front of us. You guys are the ones sitting in front of it. You're doing the pairings. We'll take what we've got in front of us. But I was like, okay. So I used my timeout really early because I wanted some advice on how to approach it because I was like, actually, how should I play this and stuff? And you came over and you gave me some really good advice. So we talked about it. And we decided to basically like the best way of playing it was to split the board and just play. To not lose as much, but just play with 4 objectives over on the right hand side of the board, sort of castle up in the middle. If he comes in, then Be'lakor, hopefully I get the 4 up off, and then the Chosen can score and stuff. But he set up so defensively because I had the Gaunt Summoner. He was so worried about it, and I'd explained to him it's 3d6, but it's not the real one, And he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to set up really defensively here and stuff." So he put Usharan at the back, surrounded by a blob of 6 Morbeg Knights. This will become super relevant in a minute.
And thrown behind him.
Yeah, thrown behind him, so there's no way out. And then he set up on the other flank, he set up a unit of 6 Morbeg Knights on the objective over on the other side. And I sort of set up to the side, with I think just a chariot over on one bit so I could touch an objective and then just everything else sort of on this blob over there. And I gave him first, I think.
No,
And
you took it. You took turn 1. So when you did the time up deployment, you took turn 1. You sent 10 Chosen that way.
Yeah, so well before that we had our conversation and you said to me, you went, "Don't forget Usharan can't fly." And he was like, "Oh yeah." And so you were like, it'd be funny to Be'lakor like the Morbeg Knights over there.
And then he can't move.
Because he can't move. And I remember your words, you went, "But don't do it just because it's funny. Pick the unit that's fully buffed that's going to come into you and Be'lakor that." And I was like, "Yeah, no worries, thanks, cool." So yeah, I got everything off that I needed to get off. So I got the 3d6 charge spell off. I got the Gaunt Summoner spell off so that I could drop them 7 away. I got literally everything off that I needed to get off, and I just went, cool, I'm sending 10 Chosen over into that corner, and I positioned them between the Beast Riders, the Beast Flayers, and the Morbeg Knights, because one way or the other I was going to go up on score, because I was going to end up with more objectives. And he did his redeploy, and I think he got a 1, and I got like a 17-inch charge. And he was like, cool, okay, fine, yeah, no worries. So I went in, lifted these 6 Morbeg Knights, cool, off they go. And then it's his turn, and I just went, cool, I'll Be'lakor the Morbeg Knights that are surrounding Usharan, and his face, he just went...
I wasn't here for this. I only heard about this afterwards as well.
Yeah, and so I think at that point he called his time out, and he was like saying over to his friend, he was like, he's done this, and they were like, obviously I've got to roll it to get it off, but I did. So Morbeg Knights, 6 of them are sitting there, Usharan's sitting there. Perfect. Um, so that was phase one of good gameplay finally coming my way. Then I win priority, and I went to him. Maybe I'll take priority. And his eyes lit up, and I went, nah, because I can Dark Master Be'lakor again with Be'lakor again. He was like, yep, cool. So I rolled it, and it landed on a 2, but it was cocked, and I'd set like it was on the corner of an objective,
Yeah.
and I said, I'm being consistent. You saw me before. He was like, yeah, no worries. And so I rolled it again. It was the 3 that time, and I was like, fuck yes, 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 yes. So that was going well.
Worked out well.
Yeah, that was going well. And then the other bit that sort of went my way, where it was just a bit of like lovely play. Well, 2 things went my way. He went in with the unit of 3 Morbegs into the Horrorghast that I'd cast, and I was like, "Fuck!" The Horrorghast is there. That's actually helped him out. Bollocks. He couldn't kill the Horrorghast, so it tied up. It killed one back, and then it tied up this bloody small unit that he brought back for ages, which was annoying for him. But he went, I'm going to go for seize the centre because you're tied up with your chosen with 1 more Beg Knight. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to go seize the centre, so I'm going to put the Beast Flares there, and I'm going to put both units of Beast Flares there, and I'll seize the centre because you're tied up there. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, I play with all my tokens on the table, so you can see at a glance everything that's going on. So he was like, okay. So he moves in to seize the centre, and it's like, okay, activations, wars time. So I went, okay, I'll fight twice with the Chosen. And the token was next to it, and he was like, oh, fuck. Because I was close enough that I just kill, like, with 3 guys, kill the Morbeg Knight, and then I pile into the centre, and then I lifted 1 of the units of Beast Flayers.
Yeah.
It got close, because I did actually run out of time. There was a little bit of time issues where it was maybe staying on my clock a little bit longer than it should have been at points. But because we'd agreed that they could play out another game, give them 2 minutes on another one, their captain said, you guys can do the 2 minutes there, and I just needed to basically do a quick charge onto an objective with 2 units chosen, and then I got the win on that. So I came away from that one very emotionally drained, and I think you sort of said to me like, oh, so was it, close loss? And I was like, no, I won. I won.
Yeah, I was fucking what that was. Yeah, very, very impressed. Very happy.
I mean, I needed a lot of stuff to go right, but everything in that game that, you build the army I had built, everything that it was supposed to do, actually it did that turn. So, I was running fucking double 6s for casting, everything was going right. I was, annihilated the unit of Chosen with, all the 6s. At one point, I was like, yes! I was like, Timmy, I've rolled 6s! And the guy's like, you alright? I was like, yeah, I just haven't been rolling a lot of 6s for Chosen. It all went right, but we unfortunately lost the round. It was 16 points or something.
Oh, it's way tighter than that. We lost it. We lost it by six. So we were down by 6. So 12 difference.
12, yeah, maybe 12.
Yeah, around 12. Yeah. I always forget because the way it works. I'm thinking 6 down.
So we lost that one by 12, which I think did Martin swing his game went the other way.
Yeah, his one went quite, but he got really good mission, but then the Stormcast long strikes and everything really did a lot more than we'd expect.
Yeah, he lost a Gargant, I think, turn 1 or something, didn't he, with 2 double taps and stuff.
Very quick.
Yeah, so we lost that one, but it was close. At this point, Ireland, our rivals, are just sort of rolling over. Not Bulgaria, not Serbia, Turkey. They got a huge win against Turkey, so we're like, bollocks. Okay, they're probably gonna finish above us, but both going into our final game was okay, if we can win our final game against Portugal, we might be able to finish above them if they then lose to Bulgaria, which Bulgaria had gone on a run, so they submarined quite nicely.
Yeah.
And Portugal was similar in some respects as well. So, talk to us about Portugal game.
So we came out with the Portugal pairings. So our pairing process evolved a lot over the 6 rounds. Shane had developed a sort of pseudo pairing app that we're now developing further for Six Nations going forward. And so we came out with the pairings mostly happy, but they had a lot of shooty lists.
Yeah.
One thing to mention for the last round was and they did this very well, I think, across the event, was the way the missions were set up. caused it to be very annoying for pairings. Very, very
Yes.
good because
Yeah.
like the last round it was Scorched Earth into Star Strike, and so the amount of people that could play this but couldn't play that,
Yeah.
so it's kind of that combination. So like we end up putting myself down first defender, because I was kind of like, okay, I'm happy enough to just play 6 and kind of take what we get and try and
Yeah.
sort out. And then it ended up another tight loss. I think it
Yeah.
was around the same score. It's the game I lost. That was my loss of the tournament, by 2 points, which I don't think was enough to skew it, but was still something that could have been a slight win.
I think it was. I think it was like 4 or 8 points. It was so close.
I would know.
I'm gonna have a look on BCB.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Um,
Then we had Colin won his game quite well against the Feck. That went good. My dad won against the City. No, my dad played the Dark and he was the last one playing. This the one we had like 10 Black Kings field to kill 6 Witch Elves. The lot dropped on tactic, which is really like what can happen. But it was still a really
lost
good
by
round.
8. We lost
We
by
lost by
8.
8. Okay, so my
84-76.
yeah, so 4 point swing for my thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to blame me earlier.
Well, no, my game and like
Yeah,
my game went horribly wrong. Into shooting Skaven, and I'd not played into it before, and that really did cost me.
Storm Fiends are melee, right?
No, you can get shooting Storm Fiends as well.
Yeah, no, they have shooting, but they were built to be melee.
No, he built the shooting units.
Did he have Rattling Guns? I thought he
Yes,
had Shark Gauntlets and Doomflayer.
he had lightning guns.
I don't remember anymore.
No, so this was the
I
bit.
love
I think like it was like, oh, it's a melee build, so it'll be all right. But it was he had rattling guns, so he was pumping a load of shots out and stuff. And I just didn't know how to play into it. And again, I think if I replay it, it's a lot closer and stuff. And I maybe respected the shooting maybe too much. But even on the melee, he was getting like Ren 3 at one point.
They're really
which,
good melee.
Yeah, which then I'm on a 6-up save, 5-up save, whatever. He got some strike blasts off and stuff, and I this is ridiculous, but I busted my balls I think for 3 hours on the clock to get a point. Which it was literally right at the end of just like, okay, I'm just going for a take the land, and I set that up over 2 turns, or set up over 1 turn to execute the final turn, which I'm glad I did because it meant I didn't get 20 0'd. But I was pissed off at myself, I think, because it was such a big loss, and I think if I play that game again, it's not. He was very happy though. He said actually he was like, oh, this is the matchup I wanted. He was able to concentrate fire because it was only 4 objectives. And he was able to get into me and stuff, and I was like, okay. And I think if I go back and play it, I'd probably just play across 2 objectives and just try and keep it as tight as possible, and just go, okay, come into the castle, fine, just keep chip shooting me. If you get within 9 though, I'm now going to come out of my castle, I'm going to charge into you.
Yeah, he kind of can't come at you early.
Yeah, so
one thing I do want to say, just one thing, like a lot of people after like a pairing at like World Designation will say, "Oh, this is the pairing I wanted."
Yeah,
I've never taken those comments seriously because from my experience, people will say that even when it's a bad matchup.
yeah.
In your case, I don't think it was true, but like a lot of people, like the minute someone says I got to like the head, immediately stinks.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
It's just like not letting that get to you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like. I never. It's interesting. So we finished up, and we didn't. So ticking them off, we didn't come bottom. We won a round, and we didn't have statistically the best player in the world.
Yeah, and we showed up with 8 players.
And we showed up with 8 players. So we did achieve our goals. However, it did feel like a bit of a loss, didn't it, after 2 close games?
After 2 close losses, both of which we felt like we could have won at any slight bit. We definitely felt like, but then we also came out feeling like I think it was Tom's comment, like I kind of have a point to prove now going forward.
Yes.
So everyone got kind of very riled up, and like the whole talk that night was like, going forward, 6 Nations Worlds, like what's everyone's mindsets? How are we approaching this?
Yeah, definitely. There was the other things I think that came out of it were, I mean, you grabbed me almost as soon as my game was over and was like, "You're playing a different style of army going forward." Like,
yeah.
You're well. We won't give away our game plan, to the Irish now, but it was definitely like, you're playing a different style game, and I settled on slaves really early because of the projection of power, and I was like, oh, rolling 6s and all the rest of it, but actually I never quite sat comfortably with the army.
Yeah, it wasn't the right pick for you. Because you jumped on it after the Nagash death, right, nerf?
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, slaves is really good right now. Even if it gets nerfed, it's still gonna be good, and it still was very good.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't your kind of list, I think, because it crumbles very quickly.
Yeah.
It was you're all in on, like you couldn't be kind of have half measures with it.
Yeah, and
So
it was interesting because like the list I submitted before we then finalised was one with warriors in, and it was more of a utility list. And actually, I think if I'd have taken that, I might have actually done better.
it's you never know
Yeah,
hindsight and all that.
yeah. I mean, only because it's more utility, so it's like a blob of warriors, and it was some other bits as opposed to like full aggro.
The
Um,
chosen were very scary in pairings though. Like people, some
yes, yeah,
people, like the fact player would not have deployed as offensively. Like I was very much you have to have a gun summoner on there,
yeah.
otherwise you're not a threat in pairings. Because if the slaves that showed up to me without a gun summoner, I cared so much less because I didn't
Oh
have to
yeah,
be so careful.
yeah. But Worlds was in. There was so many different variations of slaves lists and ones
Oh,
that did well. So the Bellicor, the Archeon list, which or a couple of Archeon lists actually did really well. Um,
Archeon, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Some guy played knights as well. I don't know what he was.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, Archeon's pretty fun as well. Anyway,
yeah. So yeah, but in terms of the actual makeup of the army and stuff, it just didn't sit right with me. But I had,
yeah.
and it was me. I claimed slaves way early because I was like, oh, jumping off the Nagash, build. I was like, oh shit, okay, that's gone now. But yeah, it just didn't sit right. I don't know what I'd take instead, but that one probably we should have
It's
worked something out. Yeah.
because yeah, it
So
is what it is
yes,
now.
yeah, it is what it is, and we go again for Six Nations and stuff, and uh, which you'll be captaining in another year experience, another year of pairings under your belt, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm confident. Team and I picked the right captain, um, even if I did go for it myself and got one solitary vote. Thanks, Pete. Not me. Oh, I did vote for myself as well, but
The other
Pete,
Pete also, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he voted for it. Yeah, so no, brilliant. Okay, so that's Worlds. Let's talk then about how you approach the game. So
Okay.
you touched on it at the start of the show, and you said you maybe see the game differently and stuff. So let's start with the most obvious one: list building. How do you approach list building?
Well, so one thing I do quite obviously that I think everyone does is you try to build to reliability. I do it to somewhat of an too much of an extent sometimes. So that like my world list I think is a very good example of everything was built to be very reliable but not always the strongest. So I will very much choose something much weaker, but because I know I will get it every time. But list building, I also have a thing of rather than like a lot of people will like try something and then also McCarthy's you don't need
Yeah,
to take notes, I'll send it all to you later, like all the time. Um, but a lot of people like come up with list, they'll try a unit, they'll move it out and stuff. I would just theory craft. I don't actually go through a lot of iterations in my list. I usually settle on something very quickly because before I'll spend a whole week on one list just constantly theory crafting all of it in my head for so long. And so that usually leads me to kind of coming down to what I want to play quite quickly, and then I just spend a very long time on that list refining it. But list building is, I think, the bit that is the hardest for a lot of people because what do you bring in the list? And the new GHB, funny enough, is going to change list building a lot. I feel like with the new
yeah,
tactics, and then the change of third edition and fourth edition changed list building a lot. And so it's a very adaptive process, and every army builds so differently. So you really have to know what you want to play on the table and what kind of thing you want to project on the table. So I play very not very good for teams, I will admit, but it's a lot better for winning games. Is I historically played for a 1 or 2 point win. Very often on Grand Strat, I score mines, I deny yours, which doesn't work anymore because Grand Strat's gone. Good decision, but
yeah.
I liked having auto Grand Strats personally. Um, but that's my kind of style of I'll play very narrow, tight wins. I'm just going to play safe. I know I'm up by a point. I'm just going to win at this point by playing 5 turns.
Okay, and it is interesting what you say about the sort of the list building and stuff. Uh, that's where it does start, and you're absolutely right. But it's interesting that you talk about sort of reliability and stuff because what's your aversion to variance then?
Uh, Less control. You don't know what's going to happen as much. So the more I know what's going to happen, or the more that I can reliably I know what my unit's going to do. So like Nihon's a bad example because it was so busted at the start of fourth edition, but everyone was very much immediately in Hexfaith, and I was playing Blade Geist from day dot because twos and twos are just better than threes and threes. Like because they're
And
like they have
fours and twos are better than threes and threes for me, but.
Yeah,
Destruction player.
those were or a lot of thing they did in fourth edition was 3-up perk. Like on 3-up, you get your crit 2 hits, your 5-up ward, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I just went, nope, don't want that. I want my perk. I'll take a worse perk, but I know I have my perk, so then I can kind of build it into my game plan. Because then you get to a point when you're familiar enough with the list where if I put my unit into this, I know what I'm getting.
yeah.
And then it just ends up playing so much smoother when you don't have to think about that in the moment. Going to like the 20 Sentinels I played with the Worlds list, they did not do insane damage, but they just did reliable because it was 41 shots with crit 5 plus. So shooting on the shell, they just always did about 10 saves. Everyone coming in. Techless can't feel the cast. You always get your other spells up. Just that sort of like, I know I'm getting my stuff. You're not stopping my stuff. It happens.
So when you're when you're building that list, you're looking for that reliability. Do you build around like a couple of core units, or do you look for that reliability across everything?
Core units usually. I'm very much a castle defensive player. I don't like aggro, hence slaves a horrible army for me. And I wouldn't know how to really show someone how to play slaves either if you put it in front of me. But I usually build around some pseudo castle. I'm a very big fan of having a big tanky thing that someone comes in, thinks they're going to kill and doesn't kill. Avalon was a good example of that. Or in the past, like GHBs ago in third edition, back I played like a 30 blade geist block that were very very hard to kill,
Yeah,
stuff like that. And so people come in and then I react to them. So I'm just staying back, scoring my tactics, what equalizing importance. I may be up one. Maybe now and fourth you kind of maybe go down early, but then you kind of project slowly forward in your castle, forcing them to either come to you.
yeah,
So you kind of put it on them to feel like they have to do something. So having some kind of threat. So that's where shooting helps. So like the 20 Sentinels or magic helps. Where like when you played Zinch before, when you could kind of really blast someone slowly. Or you could play the really just before in third edition where you had the tactics where you can like some armies just had 5 tactics in a grand strat, some armies
yeah.
didn't, and that you could literally just play I'm scoring all these points no matter what with like Soul Blight Legion of Night, stuff like that.
So you talked about the sort of the change in list building for this edition that sort of happened. It was basically like how many could you find the most efficient unit and the best hammers in the game was
Yeah, yeah.
almost like how to play the edition with just sort of seeing the tail end of and stuff. Um, yes, that's interesting. So in terms then of like you say you're reactive, you play castle lists, you like that reliability and stuff. How do you find like if you're in a game and suddenly it all starts falling apart? So you know you're looking for twos and twos and suddenly everything. Do you find yourself tilted? Do you know how do you respond?
I don't normally. So from my experience from other people telling me, I'm going to use Colin as an example on one of the last games we played where he did win. It was coming to turn four. I was playing Zinch versus Stormcast. We were just equal on points, or he was slightly ahead. And he won the round of five, and we had like 20 minutes before his lunch, or whatever. And I kind of just went, okay, round of five. And I went, okay, if you want, we can call it here. You win, Colin. And he's like, he was so in shock because it looked like I was still in the mode of like I have it all planned out. I'm not nothing's going wrong. Because I don't really show it apparently.
Yeah,
I feel it sometimes inside, like, shit, I fucked up here, or this is really went bad. Zinch is a very good example now of, compared to like a year ago, old Zinch was so much more reliable. With casting now, you only have a +1 bonus. You no longer have all the things you had
yeah,
before. Destiny dice are nowhere near as abundant. So kind of changing how you play it. I just say it sucks when dice don't go your way. Uh, and
yeah,
trying not to. So that's also one of the reasons I went away from the Zinch list because it had that less reliability in it.
yeah,
But it's just not letting yourself get tilted, and my thing's always looking for your outs because
yeah,
there's always something you can do. One thing I feel, the thing that I think makes most people win or lose a game, and I think this is immeasurable, like it's very hard to do, is just the right micro decisions.
yeah,
It's making the right small decisions consistently across the game. I think there's less of them to make in fourth edition, which is kind of my point. The third ed.
yeah,
An example I'm going to use is the combat phase before, with how you did pylons and how you positioned with weapon reach. All that's just gone. So all those micro decisions,
yeah,
not a thing to do anymore. So much better for game balance and simplicity.
yeah.
A lot less fun to like play around with and
Yeah,
micromanage.
yeah, because obviously, like even things like previously, you'd be like, okay, I've got an 8-inch charge, but actually, will an 8-inch charge be good enough if I'm going in because the weapon reach is this and so on and so forth and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, and which you know, and we'll talk about it in a sec. But the new GHB potentially is bringing some of that variance back and some of that flavour and stuff, which it's exciting for me anyway. So you picked your army, you've got your army up. How do you go about sort of prepping then and getting reps in? What's your go-to for getting reps?
So mostly either like I play TTS games with folks. I remember the start of fourth edition. I played like 10 games in the first 2 days. So when we showed up to our first tournament, and people were like, "Oh, this is my first game fourth ed," I'm like, "I played 10 games already," and they're like, "Oh." Um, then I don't actually get as many reps as I'd like to anymore. Like going into worlds, like the world last I played at worlds, I'd maybe played 25 games with
Right.
going into it. But started playing it all the way back in January as well.
Yeah.
So that's what a 5 month period, 25
Yeah.
games on
Yeah.
this. I did switch to Zinch momentarily for a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but when it comes to getting reps, it's because the best thing, well, the reason why you do reps is the more you play a list, and if you can stay consistently on the same list, which is harder, because a lot of people when you play reps, and if you start losing games, your immediate thought is their list is wrong, I need to change the
Yeah.
list. But if either that means your list, sometimes it is the list, but it might just be you're playing the list wrong, because you see it when you go from game 1 to game 50 on a list. The decisions you make and the ability you have with that list is so much different. Like you could pick up the best list in the game, but if you've no idea how to do it, it's not going to do anything. And it's also why to see like when you see a list go 5-0, it's probably got merits to it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know why every unit's in that list, and if you can't break it down, then you're still better off picking a list or picking units that you're familiar with. Because I still feel familiarity matters way more than list strength. Because decision you went off decisions more than you went off rules.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, that muscle memory that you've got in there and stuff that you're talking about,
Yeah,
like, do I go towards there? Do I go towards there? So when you talk about reps and stuff and games, and again, this is hopefully people listening to this will take some advice away and sort of be able to practice. And I'll ask for your top tips in a minute. But with your reps, are you playing full games? Are you playing like the first two turns? Are you playing particular setups? What do you do?
I mostly just play games. I don't like. I know you have Phil Marshall, for example, that play 200 games and he just powers through them.
Yeah,
I am much more just I play a full game. I'll do the 2 turns. We've done that before for like worlds practice where we did very heavy like 2 hours. We just did perfect setup in these matchups, and it worked. And like we caught some people out in worlds with it. It was really good. But as for the most part, I just play a full game, and you can learn as much from that as you can from the other thing. And it's just I think for most people doing both, and I think there's a lot of value in doing the other bit. I just don't put as much time into it as maybe I should.
yeah,
Um, a lot of my value comes, I feel, from I think I can just do the theory craft very well. Like that's how
yeah,
I run down a list quickly. Um, and then the other thing that I would go to afterwards, of like what maybe even the top tip is my thing is just knowing your opponent's army, because if you don't know their army well, you're not going to make good decisions.
yeah,
So one thing I did when I started getting better was that's when I went out and I learned every army, and so that's when I read through every battle tome, and so I got to the point where I could tell you basically every school's thing. When I was in school board, I would literally write down just stat
yeah,
lines and abilities. And so because if you know that, so the thing I did say for a while over here was like I'd want to know my opponent's army better than they know it themselves,
yeah,
which is hard to do because the perspective of playing an army versus the one receiving it, like you look at it so differently. But just knowing their rules, so showing up to a table, and like in a lot of tournaments you'd explain your army to folks, and my thing would be is I'd explain my army, and then I would kind of try to explain their army to them. So then they would realize, okay, he knows what my stuff does, and if they
yeah,
have no idea what my stuff does, that's immediately in a really good position because they don't know what to be afraid of my army. And the lists I'd always play, for the most part, are slightly different. I don't like it really playing meta lists, and very often I'll play a worse list because I enjoy it more.
yeah.
Just to be frank, because I'd rather play a list I enjoy than a list that's boring.
Yeah, fair. I think like and perhaps taking away from that is that if you don't have the time to maybe learn every list, at least learning maybe what the top 5 or 10 meta
Yes,
lists
yeah,
would be at the very least, because you're bound to run into them at an event, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And we sort of touched on it, with when we were talking about worlds, going into a list that we didn't know, we definitely struggled with some of those matchups because we thought, oh, okay, I don't know how to play this, or oh, it plays this way and it plays a different way. So how do you approach your in? And actually, I don't know whether you've. I was going to say perhaps the reason why you can say rightly or wrongly, but maybe the reason why you do better playing all your games all the way through is because you're only looking to win by 1 or 2 points. You need to see the conclusion of that
Yeah,
game
yeah,
for the full outs.
yep.
Whereas I guess if you're going for a smash list where it's like I've either won by turn 3 or I lose,
Mm-hmm.
you only need those couple of turns maybe to sort of set the stage. So yeah, that's interesting.
No, 100%, 100%. My games usually, like, if I was to look through the Tabletop Tactics app, like most of my games are, apart from when I played Night Hunt at the start of fourth ed, because that was a very strong army. But most of my games are like I win by if I'm winning by 20 points, it's more of an exception because
Yeah,
either like it's just really good position, but because I just don't go for it because that's another way of playing in the reliability of if I don't go out to them, then I can play the much safer score
yeah,
games and like tactics, and that's a big part of the list as well. Like I remember talking to a lot of people on the team when you come to your list, like what's your turn one tactics? If you only have
yeah,
one turn one tactic, you need another. You need to
yeah,
change your list. You need to be able to do flanks. You need to be able to do Cs. You need to be able to do all of them as many as possible. So like you really need to change your list to be able to do tactics as well.
yeah,
And playing around that's changing quite a bit GHB, but
yeah,
in general that was like the mindset going into it, making sure you have those points because that's how you
yeah.
win the game.
And in terms then of, so we've talked about list building, we've talked about how you sort of play on the table and the reliability. How do you approach battle plans? And the reason I say that is because, like, we were talking about Team England with the big packs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they had all their deployment zones mapped out and stuff. How do you approach mastering each of the battle plans?
So with the list I play, I generally have similar setups because I'm like most of the armies I played are castle, and so they do have to castle to a degree. So I don't have to adapt too heavily in many battle plans. The exception to this would have been the Vice,
Yeah,
which funny enough, I played at Worlds against Floody. That was my first time playing the Vice with that list,
right.
and it was my worst mission, and I knew it going in it. And so I actually deployed tech list within 6 inches of the corner of the objective because I was going, okay, that's him on the objective. That it's 3 inches.
Yeah,
So I didn't deploy him, and I went to Floody, so I'm putting him just in 60 objective. He went, yeah, yeah, yeah. So then like a few turns later, I was like, why did you do 6 inches exactly? Because you thought there was a master plan to it. It did work out because it meant I could double later and still do tactic, and then all
right.
that's what got me the game. Um, so there was a master plan to it, but
Yeah,
that I just because I just didn't play Vice with that my list. My list just couldn't play Vice because I had the split so heavy to do
yeah,
anything. But for all the other missions, it's knowing. So some missions have a meta game. A really good example is Jaws of Gilat, which I played against Beast of Chaos, where I didn't do a tactic for the first 2 turns because if you go underdog with castle list, if you can pull their back two and just play around three,
you're fine. Yeah,
that's such a disadvantage,
yeah,
especially for me where I went, okay, you can deal in the middle objective and you can fight Avalorn because you're not killing him and he's probably going to kill you with the Sentinels blasting you over 4 turns. So playing around the metagame with that, setting up very particularly on certain missions, border war, like knowing I can't extend the goal, like what you're saying against the Skaven, playing around two,
yeah,
not around three, because it's too spread. It's really much just having knowing going into the game having a game plan by just having played it before. Realistically, like your first time on a battle plan, you're going to misplay it.
yeah,
So just making sure you've played them before and then having that approach when you're doing it. Because for a team's environment, we fill in our matrix. We know what missions are good, what missions are bad, and so having thought that through.
yeah. So if you were to give advice, and it is interesting talking to you, like, and having spoke to Freddie and other players and stuff, how they go about it and stuff. So like Freddie, when he talks about his play style, what he wants to do is he wants you to hit him and then damage to bounce back onto you. So he loves exploding stuff
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so on and
yeah.
so forth. You want a nice castle where they come into you, and it's like actually, in some respects, you don't want to interact with your opponent at all if you can help it.
My Legion of Night, whenever it first came, Soulblight when it first came out, Legion of Night, I started playing straight away. Manfred, Dragon, Vampire Lord, and I just teleported around. I just went, I'm 20 Graveguard. If you come at me, I will lift what you hit because
Yeah,
Hoarfrost plus Blizzard was just OP. Especially this is back when you could teleport the Vampire Lord, then cast
yeah,
Blizzard, and then in his turn teleport back away. But just going, I'm just going to teleport forward, take tactic, teleport away.
yeah,
5 tactics, grand strat, auto complete. I've scored my points. Have you scored yours? No.
yeah.
Okay, that's game.
Good game, everyone.
Good
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
So, what would your advice be? So, like, obviously, there's a variety of skill set on show at most of the tournaments at Exploding Dice. So, like, you've got some people who are coming into it new. So, like Ian, who I played, who was in the chat before, I think it was like one of his first games. And then you've got sort of people like Colin who've been playing for 400 plus years. And so on. So you've got a variety of skill sets. What would your advice be to people who just want to go to tournaments and just do better? So maybe they're going 1-2 consistently, or they're going, 2-3, or even 1-4 at tournaments. What would your advice be on how to take that next step? And obviously, everyone plays differently, but
Yeah. So
your advice.
that'd be my first main point. Figure out how you want to play the game. Some people want to play that more aggro, which can lead to them winning big games and can lead to those losses. So just be aware of that going in. Like I'm going to play this aggro thing, and if it wins, I'm just going to go great. But be aware if they are ready for this. So, like a lot of aggro lists struggle against people who really they screen very particularly or they castle very very particularly. Um, but so know your playstyle going in and have your expectations set. Like have your expectations of a game. Being familiar with armies, you don't have to know each war school inside out, but just knowing how each army plays its rough playstyle helps a lot. And then sticking to an army and to a rough list. Like my biggest thing is, I think if you play the same list for 6 months, which a lot of people find boring, some people don't want to play the same thing forever, which is fair. But if you stick to the same thing and you really, really learn it and get good at it, it's going to pay way more dividends than switching to the meta each month.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. And as someone who really struggles as a hobby butterfly, so I think what fourth edition started last summer. I've played Seraphon, uh,
Ogres,
ogres,
OPR, slaves.
OBR, slaves, gargants at the one day a couple of
Yeah,
weeks
yeah.
ago. Um, yeah, familiarity with the list definitely helps and stuff. And I think one of the issues and one of the things we probably need to acknowledge in this hobby is we have a lot of neurodivergent people, and it is actually very hard to stick to a list
Yeah.
and go with it and stuff. So I think, but one thing that maybe I would say, and maybe I probably need to be better at, is that write a list and write, if it's losing, don't just throw everything out. Go, actually, what if I trained one unit? Maybe it's a unit that's letting me down. So maybe I'm missing a bit of speed in one place. So
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
put a prospector unit in that's got some speed, maybe that will help. Rather than the tendency is to just go, well, I'll just throw the whole thing out and then go for a whole new army.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Tweaking lists is a very, very big thing. You don't have as much tweaking now because you don't have like sub factions. Go back to this is my whole thing. I prefer third edition. The sub factions, the artifacts, command traits. You don't have the spell choices. All that little thing is like that's very set straight away. Manifestations are either your faction ones or morbid 90% of the time.
yeah,
That's going to change now, I think. But then changing 1 2 units, which now you do have the issue of a lot of people taking the best unit in your book, reinforce it, take it again. There you go. That's the core of
yeah,
your army. You have a hero that buffs it, and you go from there.
yeah,
Unless you build around the name characters, because name characters then can unlock whole new playstyles. Take Sylvaneth, Alarial Sylvaneth versus non-Alarial Sylvaneth, completely different playstyle.
yeah,
Um, but just tweaking 1 or 2 units. My thing would have been back to what are you lacking. So some armies can't get speed. For example, what you were saying there, Nurgle, you're not getting a fast unit unless you
no,
run Blight Lords, but you still only move 8. You're not really like 14 move
yeah,
cav. And then building into what you're trying to do. So have an objective with the goal with the list. Know what your playstyle with that list. So if you're playing an aggro list, but you want to play defensively, that's the wrong army.
yeah.
So if you're playing defensively, then maybe play an army like Nurgle, because then you're going to play. And there's a lot of reliability in that of knowing what you're getting in, and it's expectations, and then keeping your head level. Because if you get tilted, it almost doesn't matter what you're doing, because then it's all going to go.
It's the tilting thing. Maybe I was asking you because then I can spot the signs if we play. But I think the tilting things can be something that can really affect new players and stuff. Is that thing of like, oh, I've lost this game and stuff. But I found sometimes it's like, okay, I have lost this game, but actually maybe I can, go, okay, well, okay, what I'm going to do then is how's the best way to just score 2 more battle tactics in this game? So set yourself like a little mini game within that of
Yep,
like,
yep.
okay, I've lost this game, but what I really want to do is I want to figure something out. So you're not just giving it up. And I think that's where sometimes like tournaments having best in bracket can help because it's like, okay, I might lose all my games, but actually, can I lose them the least? Or,
Yeah. No, no,
you know,
100%. Go on.
yeah. The other thing I was going to say about this sort of tilting bit as well is like step away from the table. Like literally, just have it step away from the table, take a deep breath and stuff. Like I know when Timmy came over to Tracksuit GT and he realised he'd forgotten like a whole unit, hence his name
Yep,
Timmy
yep.
now. Like there's a whole thing. He's built his own ethos and mythos within the scene. But I just walked up to him, show and said like, don't let it affect you. Like take a deep breath, just like take a pause, and like go again. The models are here. Forget about it. Don't let it affect you and stuff. So, which you can do in teams. You can sort of G your teammates up and sort of say like, take a deep breath and stuff. So yeah, okay, cool. Any other tips or advice you'd give to players to aspire to be the next Solomon Morrow? Because you are a bit of a boy wonder. And what is it with Northern Ireland producing like young players who do well? Because you're not the only.
So before me, Chris Caves was what would be seen as our top player, who was younger than me. I still is younger than me. That's kind of how age works. So it's just if you enjoy the game, like I think coming into a game with where you have more older people, like in the mid to late 20s or going older. It's very intimidating coming in at a young age. To be frank, because that's the thing, I didn't go in the tournament scene for so long, and then I was a very timid child sitting there with it. Like I'd be quiet in games, which that's just going to come with time, confidence, and playing. And then it's just if you enjoy the game, it's just gonna build from there. Like if you get passionate about it, it's just gonna go from there. That's if you don't have the passion for a game, you're gonna struggle to perform.
Yeah.
If you're looking from a competitive point of view, if you just want to play the game for a bit of fun, then 100% go for that. But if you really want to get better, you need to find out where your passion is in the game and kind of really delve into that.
Yeah. Cool. So be passionate about the game. Try and find what you are passionate about, and don't take the losses to heart and stuff. And yeah.
Take losses is a very interesting one because I think more about the games I've lost than any other game
Yeah.
because that's where you can find the most improvement. Like you can immediately go look at a loss and go, okay, was an immediate decision that lost me the game. I think if you're writing a loss off on dice, it can happen, but I immediately go to other things. Like there's decisions, there's the micro decisions, which I would go to, which is it's hard to measure what those were, but that can be the small things in your deployment, your that just went for the wrong game plan, which is again, if you replayed it. So the thing is, if you ask someone, if you play that game again, would you play it differently? And if you
Yeah.
go, yeah, then that means okay, then you're learning stuff in the game. That's all you
Yeah.
need. But eventually you can pull all that back to go, okay, maybe it was the list. Maybe I should have had a slightly different list. And
Yeah.
I had that before last year with my Night Hunt, where I did lose a game, and then I was like, then I completely swung my list and played it differently, stuff like that. So it losses taking everything you can out of loss to get more information. That's a big thing that you can use.
That's something we sort of talked about on Discord the other day, wasn't it? Self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the time, not just moving on too quickly from it and stuff, is definitely key. And I've reflected a lot since Worlds and stuff, good and bad. But yeah, self-reflection and stuff, very very valuable tool. And so, who are the people you talk to in the scene for list advice and how to get better and stuff? Who do you rate when it comes to your close social circle?
So my biggest rival would be the Colin Cochran, probably. He's the one who's beat me the most over here. Still doesn't have a positive win record, but then I kind of just talk with anyone who messages me. To be frank, I'm very happy to talk Warhammer with anybody. Like I remember McCarthy as a good example. We've messaged a lot over the last few years because we both played Zinch a lot, and so we take lists of like as much as I joke about him playing my list, he played Enlightened before me, and so he made me look at Enlightened, and then I adopted Enlightened into my armies. And it's just being willing to talk to people that like if you see someone playing your list, just like message them, talk to them. I'm currently talking to Ross from Team Scotland about Night Hunt because Night Hunt's what I'm on now, the GHB. I'm very excited about that. They are my favorite army. They've always been my favorite army.
Yeah.
Even when they were dog shit. I just wouldn't play them at tournament. And so it's just talking with anyone of a similar it's just to get the perspective, even like because personally I look at a lot of people playing games like great places like the Release the Beasts tournament, which you have a bunch of people playing TTS all the time. You can just pop in and watch people play games and hear their thought processes. I've done it a few times, but I usually get either bored or I end up going like I don't like that decision, and then I want to take. Well, that's just because again the play style so differently. But you can still learn so much from that because one thing a lot of people don't take into perspective actually I think when they play is like when you play you're so worried about all your stuff going on, but your opponent's doing the exact same.
Yeah.
And so they're worrying about their thing not working, and so if you can almost and they're worried about your thing going off. So like that, take the chosen game that went really well for you. He had to defend so carefully because you could just do that.
Yeah.
Now, do you reliably do that? Who knows?
Yeah.
But you're not going to take the chance. But you're probably not going to send it necessarily if into that anyway, even if you didn't, because you're going to lose it. But it's hard to look at that from the other perspective. So being aware of so that from their perspective, your win condition is 20 chosen coming in, but that's not your win condition. So correctly identifying how your opponent wants to play the game, which can come down to knowing how your opponent plays. So the more familiar you are with them, so like Colin, person I probably played the most, me and him know how we play very similar. We don't play very similar. We know how we both play, which leads to us then playing differently again. But it's very much knowing their win condition, your win condition, and making sure you don't get that wrong.
Yeah. Interesting. Brilliant. That's been fantastic. So we'll finish up with just a really quick sort of chat about the new GHB and stuff. First of all, have you seen the new GHB?
It's not out yet. How can I see it? Not allowed to see that, right?
Streamers have officially done the release stuff on Saturday with the pre-order, so you're fine.
Oh yes, no, of course, yeah, I can discuss that. Yes, so the GHB stuff, from the day they announced the new scrolls per army, I was immediately very intrigued because and then they were reflecting on the army so much, and I don't think they made the right choices for every army with the thing. Some armies got better than others.
Yeah,
But it's just exciting because everyone's getting something new to play with. And then the battle plans, the new look at tactics is very, very interesting because tactics have been very CMC for a long time. The only difference is no faction tactics anymore, so that's very we no longer have that destruction nerf. And then
yeah.
uh,
There goes one of our big excuses. That's gone.
you have the force still. You can always use that one.
Fucking yeah, and all our attacks just fucked us. So yeah,
Oh yeah, the all attack, the defense nerf. I love the defense nerf.
yeah,
The all attack one caught me off by guard. I didn't expect that.
no,
I don't really care because Nighthaunt doesn't get affected. In fact, Nighthaunt's buffed by both because defense nerf just if it
yes,
help buffs us, and
yeah,
I love hidden nerfs or hidden buffs. But a lot of the small interactions like that are very, very big. And then the battle plans look so different, and the way of scoring and the 6 objectives going down the 6 is a lot better because the 8 versus 1, like when you could play Star Strike into Scorched Earth,
yeah,
really skewed armies because like you could play 8 objectives and be Deepkin and be loving it. You could play Star Striker versus Gargants and be crying.
yeah,
And so balancing that more so people can have better expectations a lot better. So the GHB from everything I've seen is very good, I think. Well, it looks very promising.
yeah.
It just depends how they tweak points and rules. Because I hope there are some rules changes. For example, Kairos I don't think works in the new GHB.
Yeah, that doesn't work. No.
So if we can maybe give my guy a buff again, I do like my Kairos.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, actually, because that the battles. So the rumor that's doing the rounds is that there was a video uploaded of a battle report,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in the battle report they said that once per game, if you have more drops now, so this is the race to more drops. Once per
You can
game,
reroll the
you
prior.
can re-roll the prior roll, which is a rumor that every year I think this rumor comes out, and every edition there's you should be able to re-roll the prior roll or whatever. But people say, and people usually say, if you've got more drops because less drops you're already getting something out of it. And for those that don't know, so the video got taken down,
Naturally.
adding more. Well, it depends on which tinfoil hat you're wearing. Some people could say you're taking it. They took it down because that wasn't a rule. They fucked it up, and they were like, "Oh, that's embarrassing. We might have just done that." Or it's because the NDA hadn't gone because the points
Yeah.
we know don't drop till the 11th at the
Yeah.
latest, I think, because the app will be updated.
11th
So
is
the
app.
latest,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think
yeah.
it's
So
11th is the
yeah,
app.
which is normally they release it on a Wednesday, the battle scroll anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so the battle scroll potentially they've got this once per game re-roll prior roll, which they can put in a battle scroll because then it's not in the book, so that if they notice in 6 months it's too OP or whatever, they can just take it off
Yep.
without invalidating the whole
Yep.
GHB or the core rules. But
Yep.
surely why not just like rewrite bloody Kairos's war scroll as part of the soggy, as everyone's calling them now, which I hate, the soggy war scrolls.
Um, because they weren't going to do anything that. So for like the Zinch one, I think they did this with most armies. They picked the stuff that's not played.
Yeah,
So Kairos has been played in Zinch since his inception. So he's never going to get like a buff in a sense. So the idea was to take less played things and make them better. Which my
yeah,
personal favorite, Black Coach, they made it good again. My BP.
yeah.
But
So,
going on something, go ahead.
so you just think he'll be an errata in the an errata?
I think
in
it'll be
the
an errata.
battle scroll? Yeah,
I think the simplest change is give him his 3rd edition build. He just generates a Destiny dice every hero of his.
yeah,
Like
fine.
that's the quickest. Like it's not OP, it's good, and it's a unique
Yeah.
thing. And then new book they can actually change it to be something playable for them.
Yeah, oh yeah, because they don't have their book, do they? So
No,
actually, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's my thought of
yeah,
what they do with it. But on the reroll prior thing, one of my favorite things they did in this GHB was the FAQ to give you a bonus for being outdropped. Because right now, before that, there was just incentive you want to be as low drop as possible,
yeah,
and it's always kind of been that, even in 3rd edition. But then giving someone, okay, well, if I play high drops, I get my extra perk. I might play for higher drops now. Personally, I like going higher. I would rather be higher drops take a perk than be 2-drop roll off and just lose the roll off.
yeah. So
Because if I'm higher drops, I just play as if I lost that 2-drop roll off, but I just get an extra perk as well now.
yeah.
So I would always go for higher drops personally from that point of view.
So like 12 Grimwrath Berserker lists are back then.
Not to that extent, but I'd play
No.
3/4s. But yeah,
Yeah. So okay, so so you like that? You like the re-roll or prior roll once per game? We like that.
I like a perk for big high
Okay.
drops.
Okay.
I don't know if I care as much about that. A re-roll, a prior roll, yeah, sure. Like if you both roll a 1, sure, I can maybe get 2 up now.
And I think that'll
Um,
be the one where you'll see it most often is
yeah,
the one into the one, one into a one.
so many people are just going to be able to shoot away. I feel like,
Yeah,
to be frank, and you should. That's one. A lot of people hold abilities. Actually, that's a good point. Like you hold, oh, I might need it later. Might need it later. If you see a use case of something, just use it
yeah.
because it
No.
may you could just lose the unit or it could not come into play, and that's a very easy thing to fall into as well.
Yeah, like fight twice, you're like, oh, actually, I've lost the unit. I never got it off or whatever. Kill what you can kill. I mean, there's definitely going to need the need to be some day one FAQs or whatever. So, for example, like I've been loving the changes to the Iron Jaws stuff, but it says Mega Boss, but Mega Boss isn't a keyword.
Yeah.
So if they start throwing Mega Boss on as a keyword for the Maw Crusher, you might see the Maw Crusher suddenly getting a bit more use. I think the big pigs take the monstrous traits all day, every day better than the Maw Crusher
Yep.
currently.
Yep.
It was interesting. So I dive, like, currently I have a lot of time on my hands while I'm out of work, but I've been diving into like the faction chats after each soggy update's dropped, and it's so funny how, like, from an outsider, if you don't run the faction, you look at it and you go, God, that's quite good, and then people are just like, the world has
They hate it.
collapsed. This is awful. This is the worst
Everybody
thing ever.
hates it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Soulblight one is so funny. Everyone thought it was horrendous. I love the Soulblight
yeah.
stuff, like the Soulblight stuff, but the entire chats just hate it. So
Well, I mean, the Iron Jaws one, I think on the whole, most people loved it because we're so used to not having good stuff that it was like, actually, this
no,
was pretty good.
getting Fasten back is quite nice.
Oh, fast, yeah, exactly. Oh, well, especially now that you can potentially fasten something, pop the place of power, and then so on and so forth. So, and mighty destroy. So there's nice stuff. There's a nice bit of tech going in there. The loss of field sergeant might be a thing though, because some armies were using that as quite a lot of as a crutch, I think.
Yeah, it gave armies that were meant to be mobile mobility,
Yeah.
so it made people play. But I think Field Sergeant was a very good addition to see how it works in armies, but it made some armies a lot better than they should be in certain
Yes. Yeah.
departments. And so that, like, Nurgle's drawback is that it's slow. When suddenly
Unless
your
it was
Blight King,
second edition and then it was like fast as anything.
okay, yeah,
But
but when
yeah,
the
yeah,
Blight Kings are suddenly moving 7 inches, you're like, well,
yeah,
you're as fast as Nighthaunt now.
yeah,
I don't know about
yeah, and like, well, way faster than quite a lot of armies. So yeah, so
that.
but yeah, it looks. I think this should have been the drop for the start of fourth edition. Like, they played it so safe for the last 12 months and actually lost a lot of people playing the game.
Potentially, I feel like this is building on what they did with fourth. I think what they went with fourth is what they aimed for. They aimed to strip back. So the whole thing with third edition, why I prefer it is so much more complex, and like the FAQ document's 30 pages,
Yeah,
but that the FAQ document has so many little things in it. But it became very annoying for anyone to play, and so newcomers. So fourth edition gave that entry point. The biggest miss I think with the start of fourth was the manifestations.
yeah,
They got rid of predatory and stationary, but they have them effectively in the rules.
yeah,
Why not just have the keywords?
yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
Um,
Although the new GHB, the way it's laid out is actually so much better because it does. They've learned their mistake and gone, actually, this is a clearer bit. I think
yeah, yeah,
people need to read the new GHB cover to cover because there's some stuff in there where there is small changes that
small
people are
changes. Yeah,
missing. Like we were talking before, like people have missed that Purple Sun is now both units, and I think
yep,
people will just skim over that if they're not careful.
yep,
People were moaning about the objective markers, like, well, how can it be within 1 inch of the objective marker? It's like, no, it becomes the control zone if it becomes obscuring, and so
yep,
on and
yep.
so forth. So I think, some advice for everyone is when you get it, read it, actually read it cover to cover. Like, no
Get
one
people
reads
to
the
read.
rules. No one reads the rules. I know
No one
that,
needs the
but
rules. No one needs the packs. Two things of certainty.
yeah, exactly. But again, top tip: learn the rules. Like, you'd be surprised how much that can win you games. Like, just knowing the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but yeah, it looks interesting. The funny thing is that we'll have 1 year of this, then we'll have 1 year of something different, and then it's a new edition time because we're on the 3 year cycle, which just feels a bit too quick now that we've got a whole reset.
yeah. It depends how they look at changing the edition because like
Yeah.
third edition very much built on second edition.
Yeah.
Fourth edition very much rewrote third edition. So if
Yeah.
they just build on fourth, it's a bit different. But
Yeah.
the 3 year cycle is more of like they have to do that for like I don't know production and all that.
Sales and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Whereas from a rules point of view, I personally like the 6 month GHB because that was massive shakeups every 6 months. But
I like the six
that was
month
a bit much.
GHB, but yeah, but some people are like, I played one game in this edition. It's like, okay, play more then. Like, this GHB is maybe not for you if you're not a match play tournament go or whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Martin in the chat says junk, and I know he's referring exactly to what probably the soggy updates for
Oh,
Sons of Behemat.
yeah. I prefer the old Kraken Eater personally, but
Yeah, so do I. I don't think you need a teleporting Kraken Eater, to be honest.
it's Deep Strike's not even teleport.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. Everyone's calling it in the chat for Suns. They were calling it a teleporting
Okay.
one. It's not
No,
teleporting.
no.
Obviously, it's deep striking. But yeah, teleporting would be more useful. To be fair,
Teleporting would be yeah.
That'd
That's a different story. That's a
that'd
different
be
story.
great. That would be
A Gargan
fantastic.
popping up behind you to then be redeployed and feels charge. Who cares?
Yeah, but I think again, and we'll see as the edition plays out. But I think destruction. Some factions in destruction or some builds could be in for a tough time with the all-out attack. You need it for that, but then you're -1 save. So if you can't kill the unit you're going into, you could be in a world of pain.
Not relying on all attack now. Also, I think people are not going to use it as willy-nilly because it's not like, well, I have a CP, I'll just all attack. You're like, but
Yeah.
there's also the game now of where you want to just let your opponent hit first if your unit's tanky.
Yeah.
And you play for that sort of thing. And the defense nerf is so much a bigger deal, I think, because you no longer you can't have Avalon on 2+ save before whole combat now.
No.
So, also you mentioned Field Sergeant, Bodyguard as well being gone.
Bodyguard, that's huge. Like,
that's
huge.
that's the best. That's the strongest one in my opinion. Like that's the one that defines lists and matchups.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few builds that'll just absolutely disappear now.
Karazari, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, but then this takes it back to what we were talking about, a while back, which is list building got boring. We're in the Wild West now. The list building is not solved. This is not solved by any stretch. Battle tactics changing, etc. Battle plans, soggy bloody updates, and can we all agree not to call them the soggy updates?
For the most part, it's just the better scrolls. Like I just see it as that's the new version. So.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting for people to show up with the old version and people will think it's the new version. That will happen, I think.
Yeah,
if someone brings the old.
100%. Again, Ogre Chat was very much like, well done for giving us like a shooting upgrade and then taking away shooting from the game, which I think is a huge.
All the obscuring stuff.
I think it's a huge overreaction for people to say that shooting's completely dead.
No, shooting, because now shooting also affects monsters again.
Yes.
That's the biggest. So you no longer have a Gargan in a forest. Your Gargan is getting fucked. Screw you, Martin.
Yeah.
But it's just that sort of thing. Like so your little small unit can sign up, and the within an inch of the forest is really nice. But then you no longer have the shooting unit hiding in the forest. That's gone. So shooting's nerfed, but shooting's, as long as I can hit you and not take damage back, it's always going to be more valuable. Absolutely, as long as they fix covering fire to be worded for the
the misprint, potential misprint. Imagine if they put misprints in various editions they sent out to influencers, so they knew exactly who had leaked it.
You do a 1 space gap and then you'll know.
Yeah, but I think even if you took like 3 long strikes, that's still going to be quite useful, for the points and stuff.
Long strikes are always going to be scary.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Ran 3 against monsters, like you just can't. Well, against hero monsters.
Yeah, and also to get the obscuring, you do have to roll the 3 up. It's not like it's automatic.
It is for the rest of the battle, though.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. Okay, well, that was. So anything else you want to say about the new GHB before we wrap it up?
There's not much else to say on it. I'm just excited for new rules. That's my favorite thing when something new comes out.
Yeah.
When it stays the same, it gets boring.
Yes, and I think that it got very stale the last year. I think it got very stale.
Yeah.
That for me anyway, I felt like it got a bit stale towards the end. I'm excited about building lists. I'm excited about Iron Jaws. I'm excited about Gitmob as well. Actually, potentially, just I need to see it. Just the movement shenanigans. I don't know. There's a lot in Gitmob of movement shenanigans. I think it's a mixed army still. It's not fully one or the other, but there's some movement shenanigans in there. Although, as someone pointed out to me, the Sunstealers are war machines. So it's like, oh, bollocks, you can't turn them as scouting units. So, yeah.
The scouting thing is very annoying. My black coaches are crying. They don't get the count.
Yeah. And I guess the other bit, if we see the change to cavalry that everyone keeps talking about, no reinforced cavalry over 5. I just don't know.
Why? It's pointless. Why? They're not going to do that. Like, what? That's not the point of what they want to do with it. Like certain units they may make no longer reinforceable, maybe. Like they could just go, okay, we've had too much of 6 Vanguard being a problem. You only get used to 3 Vanguard.
Yeah.
They're a small thing. okay,
Yeah.
maybe, but I don't
And
see
that,
them making changes because nothing like one thing you can take from fourth edition, even the last year, is it is still remarkably well balanced. Worlds is a perfect example. Top 10 armies, all different armies.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All top teams all brought different armies. It didn't matter the individual army; it was a combination and the play. Like so, the
yeah,
balance has been very very good. Just the intricacy is
yeah.
less enjoyable,
Cool,
personally.
brilliant. And what's the next event you're at?
Well, we have a one day coming up in just a week.
Oh, thank you,
Uh,
Dave. Just gifted a total
oh,
of 5 subs.
Mr. McCartney,
Yeah,
what a guy.
yeah,
We have a one day where we're looking at potentially using some of the like we're going to use new battle plans and tactics. We don't have the other stuff out yet because the way the dates fell, but just to get playing with them and stuff.
yeah.
Other than that, the next main event's NIGT. Personally,
NIGT, which I can't wait for. It's going to be great.
Grudge. No?
I
No,
mean, I had
I'll let you think about it. I'll let you think about it.
no. Well, I mean, I had originally said that I was going to grudge Alan because we kept
Oh
missing
no,
each
yes,
other
no,
events.
yeah, yeah.
However, after our really intense game at Worlds, we both said, "Do we really want to put ourselves through that?"
Well, you can drink a beer and have a fun game with Alan. Alan's really good.
He is, yeah. I'll see you round 5.
I'm not losing 4 games.
Oh, I didn't lose 4 games in the last NIGT either.
Different world.
Fuck you, Sol. Fuck you. You just ruined it right at the end, didn't you? It had to be a dick right at the end. No.
No.
Do you know what? I'm actually getting to the point where I think I'm not. I don't want to do grudges as much anymore unless
No.
there's like a real grudge thing in there. Just because I want to just see how it rolls. You know?
Yeah, no, just play. So I know I don't actually grudge people. Basically, my rule of thumb is I'll never deny a grudge, but I'll
Yeah.
never. I don't actually ask for grudges seriously.
So Phil Marshall will never issue or accept a grudge.
Oh well, yeah. Then you're just backing down. But
Yeah, well, yeah, he backed down from Mark, who does the podcast with me, and it's like, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
generally, if I do a grudge, it's usually because we've decided that we just want to get drunk and have fun for game 1,
Yeah.
which I would have a lovely game against you, but we're definitely not getting drunk for it. So yeah,
I'll have a pint with you.
I know you'll have 8 pints, but that's a beer.
Until if I lose a game round 3, then who knows what Kremlin will be like.
Ah, Kremlin, bring it on, bring it on. No, brilliant. Thank you so much, Sol. It's been really enlightening talking to you and understanding a bit more how you approach the game, and I hope that other people will take some advice away from this. I will make this available as a podcast and put it out there, and probably put it on YouTube as well, because I think that's where the series might live. But I was criticised recently. Someone said, "You've not done. When's the next time you can do a podcast? You haven't done anything for 8 months." And I was like, "I have," and they went, "Yeah, but you haven't put it as a podcast." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So I'm a bit slack. I was like, "Bit slack." So yeah, fair.
Yeah,
I'll see you at NIGT in August. Then August. Oh shit.
yeah. August. It's start of August. It's the second third though, so it's like the very beginning.
Yeah, that's ages away. Yeah, I've seen you like every 6
I know.
weeks recently. Like
I know.
this year
I
and
know.
stuff,
We got
so.
to, yeah. We'll talk a lot though.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, good luck with the future. Good luck with the Team NI stuff. And thank you so much. For those that want to come back in a short while, I'm going to be filming a quick promo video with Mr. Dave McCarthy and Johnny to promote the event they've got. So we will be going off air, and then we'll be back in sort of 5 minutes, not as a full show, but just as a quick promo video that we're going to be filming. But thanks again, Sol, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure being here.
Any shout outs you want to do?
Just to NI scene in general. Everyone here is great. The biggest shout out I think is to Pete. He's the person that keeps the scene alive. So biggest shout out to other Pete.
Yeah, no, I echo that. Pete Pratt, well done, top bloke. Yeah, brilliant. All right, thank you so much everyone for joining us. This has been a Just Roll Sixes special. Go follow us both on social media, wherever you may find us. Good evening.